Please welcome to the stage, Meg Lewis.
All right, what you need to know is that technically, I haven't won any awards or anything. I just turned 30 this year, which is very exciting. Thank you for the whistles. 30 is good. But when I turned 30, I got a lot of people that were like, oh, are you sad you didn't make any 30 under 30 lists? And that was a downer. First of all, you have to apply to be in those. That's what I tell myself. And I never applied. But also, my whole career have never wanted anyone else to determine my success. And so I specifically don't apply for awards because I'm both afraid of rejection, but also because I don't want anyone to tell me how far or how high or in what direction I can go, which is why I've never had a job. So I have always been a freelancer, and ever since I had an internship I actually went to school in LA, had an internship working in celebrity PR, realized that was not the industry for me. I mean, can you imagine me doing celebrity PR? That sounds like a nightmare. But I did steal all the phone numbers of all the celebrities. So if anybody wants John Lovitz's phone number, I have that. But anyway, so as I started freelancing, I had no idea what I was doing because I've never had a full-time job. I had no frame of reference. So I constantly was getting fired. So the first part of this talk is just me self-deprecating, basically, because I was garbage. And what was happening was I was making the same kind of work over and over again, and I was making work in a style that did not match my clients. So I was working for a lot of medical and pharmaceutical companies, making work in the style that I make today, which if you know anything about my work, that does not fly with a medical company whenever I'm designing brochures for their latest, pharmatech app or whatever they're trying to make. So I was getting fired constantly getting fired. And it was really, really disheartening for me because I was great at working with clients. I was very good at that part of my job, but I was really bad at making work that was sort of problem solving or, best designed for whatever solution I was trying to make for that client. Because all I could do was make work in a style that looked like mine. And that reminded me back of when I was in school and I was getting critiqued all the time. People would always say like, oh, well, we know which one's Meg's because it looks like Meg's. And they would always tell me to stop making work that looked like my work. And then whenever I started freelancing, everyone kept giving me that feedback too. And this is what I realized, clickers, is that there are two types of designers in this world, and I no longer wanted to be considered a problem-solving designer because I was not good at that. I was working in the tech industry for a long time, freelancing for different clients, solving a lot of problems, trying so hard to adapt my style to fit their brand, to fit the solution I was trying to create for them for that problem. And it was really strenuous for me because I kept making things in my style, and it was quite a disconnect between me and the client and the work that I was making because it didn't match up. And after getting fired a number of times as a freelancer, I realized I have got to stop trying to be a problem solver because this is not working for me. And so today, I'm a designer as an artist, which does not make nearly as much money as a problem-solving designer. So if you're looking to get into this industry to make a lot of money, which you can, I would recommend becoming a problem solver. Those people make a lot of sweet cash. Artists, not as much. And I'm okay with that, though, because that's what works really, really well for me. So now, this is the type of work that I make. I make work that looks like my work, but the best part is that brands hire me so that I can bring my style, my personality, and my work into their brand. And I think that's a really exciting time for me to be hired as an artist rather than saying, okay, we have this problem and we need you to come up with a unique solution in a design system that matches that problem and that solution. Nah, I don't mess with that. I have a style, and I'm really proud of it today, and I'm running with it. So you can see this talk is not really about my work, so I don't really want to dwell on this for very long, but I show it to you so that you can see what my style is, so that it makes sense with the whole package that you're seeing now. And also it helps you so that you can judge me right away and say, God, she's garbage. I'm just going to be on my phone the whole time, and that's fine too. There's a lot of talented designers here today. I'm not one of them. All right. So I also founded a company called Ghostly Ferns, as Dan mentioned. We're a collective of sorts of designers and commercial artists all around the world now. And we get hired like an agency a lot. A lot of times brands will hire the whole team. but mostly we're individual freelancers, and we love it that way. I also founded a shared workspace, an event production company / podcast called Foolproof. The only reason why I'm telling you all these things is because they're very relevant to the point of this talk, which is about careers and about full-time you, which is what I've been working on lately. So full-time you, I came out with earlier this year, and honestly, it's just because when I was a kid, I wanted to be a comedy actor, and that did not work out for me. And so I wanted an excuse my whole life to make a comedy series of any kind, just grasping at it, could never figure out what it would be about. And I thought, oh my God, the bar is so low in the design industry for comedy. It's like you get up here on a stage. So if I was doing a stand-up comedy routine, this would be bombing. But on stage, people are so boring. I don't have to do like hardly anything because the bar is so low. It's like when you watch Downton Abbey, like the driest show, slow show, and the dowager makes like a face. And just because she makes that face, you laugh so hard because the bar for comedy is so low. So this is exactly why I made Full-Time You. It is at its prime. It's a video series that I made with my own money. And no one's sponsoring this. It's a video series I made for essentially for career guidance for individuals. But the feedback was sort of like, the video series is funny, but it's not very useful. So that's why I then wrote a book. So today it's a workbook that you get in the mail. It's physical, but you also get access to the video series that truly no one watches. So I really made it for myself. All right, so the point of me showing you what I do, because it's so many things, is I made a career for myself that truly utilizes every single tiny skill that I have. So whether it's a large skill like designing logos, I do that in my job, but if it's a very specific skill like writing apology emails, I do that all the time too. Writing apology emails is my favorite thing to do, so if anyone ever needs help writing a sorry email, I'm so good at it. So I'll come over, we'll like work on it together, it's gonna be great. So I created a career for myself that utilizes every single skill that I have to offer, and I would definitely recommend that you all do that as well, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Oh, okay, I added this in this morning, I was feeling a little weird. So I thought it would be fun to make the internet be jealous of what's happening here today. So I'm giving you some sample tweets that you can tweet. All right, so the first one, what did I write? I don't even remember. Okay, the first one, oh, cool. Okay, yeah. Okay, so it says, this is a sample tweet. If you want to tweet this, feel free. Meg Lewis has brought out kittens and is juggling them on stage. Clearly, the internet's going to wonder why there's no photo, so you have to put the hashtag no photography. Okay, wow, that's my handle. So, @darngood is giving a $20 bill to each person in the audience, one by one. This is going to take forever. Make sure you use the hashtag HangtimeLA. Oh yes, okay, this one's good too. I can't believe Meg just shaved her head on stage. Hashtag totally bald. I didn't want people to get confused on if I buzzed my head, so totally bald, important. The light would bounce off nicely. So I'll just give you all a moment. I can see that you're all tweeting right now. All right, so I don't have many hills in which I shall die. But I thought I wanted to talk about one today, and which is the biggest hill I shall die upon, which is that humans are so strange. This is something I've always wondered ever since I was a kid, is that humans, for some unknown reason, all want to be the exact same. And everyone always wants everyone else to be exactly like them. And obviously, this is like a consumerism thing. I'm not a scholar, but that seems basic. So everybody wants to be the same as everybody else. And if you look different or act different or just are different in any way, you get attention, people talk about it, they point it out, and then you immediately hide it. And that's just obviously very dangerous because it makes us all hate ourselves, which is not a good thing. And I mean, we do this generally because of these reasons. We're all just sort of scared. We're operating out of fear. We're afraid. We're just bored sometimes, so we have nothing better to do. We're insecure, obviously, textbook psychology. All right, but then what happens is that we're constantly shouting opinions just into a void all the time, just always shouting, and that's sort of what I'm doing right now because someone gave me a stage. But we're always just kind of yelling our thoughts at people, even though they're not really well informed, or like we don't even care about the thing we're yelling our opinion about. but we feel like we have to kind of fill the silence. I think the best example of this for me is pineapple on pizza, all right? Pineapple is my favorite topping on pizza, okay? It's something I really enjoy eating. It makes me very happy, but I usually don't say that into a public room around anyone. I would never tweet this, because people say things like, you're a terrible person, like you're ruining pizza. So I'm over here enjoying my favorite pizza, loving my favorite pizza topping, and people just love to cut me off and say, oh God, what have you done? You're a monster. This pizza's terrible. You're a horrible person. I used to write for apartment therapy, and back when I was 19 years old, and every single article that I would write for apartment therapy, whether it was about rugs, it could be about anything, and people would comment and tell me I was a terrible person and I should die. So I'd just write an article about, here are the top 8 rug trends of the season, and people would be like, you think herringbone is a trend? It's just, so whenever it's as small as something about my favorite pizza topping, that makes me feel really bad about what I like and what makes me interesting and unique. And so when it's as small as something like that, when you really should be saying, okay, I don't like pineapple on my pizza, but it's totally okay if you do. That's the perspective that we should all have, right? And I think it makes total sense when I'm saying it to you. Obviously, this is a very long way to say, I don't like pineapple on pizza, but it's a kind way because it makes me feel great still about my pizza topping, and you like it too. But when you get into something larger than pineapple on pizza, when you get into something about people's personalities and what makes them different, what makes their bodies different, that becomes extremely dangerous. We think pineapple on pizza is totally harmless, and it technically is, but think about what happens when we're shouting our opinions at each other about things that are so much more sensitive than that. And the nice thing about whenever you change your perspective to this is that when you start to embrace what makes other people different and be okay with that, you start to have an attitude shift. And I know this just because it happened for me. Whenever I started really embracing what made people different from me, is I started getting really excited about what makes people different because I was okay with what made myself different. So whenever you get excited about others and what makes them unusual to you and to everyone else, you also start to be really excited about what makes you unique as well, which I think is pretty cool. An exercise I like to do with this is to monitor my thoughts. So I, all the time, even though I love and truly do embrace when people are different, I still constantly think tiny thoughts about people, little judgments all the time. So I'll see some dude walk by the street and I'll go what is he doing? What is he wearing? That hair? You start to think these things. And what I like to do is monitor that inner monologue and think, are those actually my thoughts? Or are those thoughts that have been placed there by learning and sort of social culture over time? So I think that's a really nice exercise to go through your head whenever you are having thoughts about anything, is to think about them and say, are these my thoughts or are they someone else's? All right, so in general, I don't think that your career has to be any different than any of this. So when we talk about our jobs and we try to fit our personality and our skill set into one-size-fits-all job descriptions, it can be really dangerous because we all are so totally different from one another that one thing works for somebody, it might not work for the next person, it probably won't. So your career truly doesn't have to be something that everybody wants you to have in a career. So I like to think, and this is sort of the work that I've been doing with Full-Time You, is that you all individually, whether you have a full-time job or you're self-employed, that does not matter. You hold the makings to have a career that's truly unlike anyone else because it's made just for you. So think about things like your personality. What makes your personality different from everyone else? Clearly, your whole life you've been told there are certain traits about yourself that make you different. Maybe those things you've been trying to suppress or hide this whole time. And what I'm interested in doing is seeing everybody take those things and push them forward as much as possible. It's worked out so well for me because it allows you, as a creative person specifically, to position yourself in a way that's unlike anyone that the world has ever seen. Because it's just a reflection of who you are, which is a person that's unlike anyone the world has seen. So whenever you think about these personality traits that make you unique to everyone else in this world, I want you to push that forward, whether it's within your work, the work that you're making. I want you to push it forward in your social relationships. I want you to push it forward on social media specifically, so that when people are interacting with you, you're creating an experience for them that is totally unique to you because it is a true reflection of who you are. Your career should also, as that chart showed, utilize your entire skill set. So again, I want to see you write down a list of all of the things that you're really good at. You're so good, you're better than most people at these skills, whatever that may be. I usually like to write down a list of 10 things. And notice how many things you actually get to use in your job. And this is the work that I do with people that work for full-time companies, is I say, highlight the things that you actually get to utilize in your job, and then show your boss or your leader, your team leader, the entire list, and say, look, you're only utilizing 30% of my capabilities, so let's talk about ways we can expand my role. And if you're like me, and you make up your own job out of nowhere, then you can create a job just for yourself. That's a bunch of tiny things smushed together into one big career that utilizes everything that makes you amazing. I have learned this very well. I think, especially when people are speaking, they're like, oh yeah, and then I just started this business, and then I just did this thing, and then this appeared, and it happened, and it was great. I will say that it is so hard to do things on your own without anyone determining your success or anyone helping you out. I have never had anyone give me money to fund anything. I've always had to fund things on my own, even though I'm in, so much student loan debt and everything. I got it all, don't worry. I have always found a way to have businesses that are completely low overhead, to where I don't need money to fund anything, because it'll fund itself as it goes. So like a great example of this is the publishing of my book earlier this year. I learned how to take videos by myself. I learned how to edit videos by myself. I'm a designer. I could design the stuff easy. I learned how to do some light CSS so I could customize the Squarespace. I learned how to do copywriting. I had some friends look over it to edit. But I was able to do everything on my own without money. And I even published the book without money because I put it up, made these beautiful mock-ups that made the book look real, and then I took everyone's money as pre-orders and paid for the actual books with the pre-order money. So I truly needed nothing but the skills that I have, and I had to learn a ton of new skills in order to do things without money. And it's totally possible for us to all do that. But you have to be willing to fight extremely hard for what you want for yourself. I would say, and you probably can attest to this, that when you think back to all the successful people that you know in your lives, the successful people are always operating out of love and not fear. So I talk to a lot of people who are interested in freelancing, and people who are interested in freelancing but feel stuck or feel like they can't. And they usually don't succeed as freelancers because they're so afraid to be a freelancer. So whenever they start doing it, or the whole time, they're sort of so scared about what the next job is going to be. Where's the money going to come from? How am I going to survive? What's my next year going to look like? Those people are also, a lot of times not suited for freelancing because it is really scary, but you have to operate out of a love-based level. You have to operate out of using friends, that doesn't sound like love. You have to, so you have to utilize your friendships and tell people when you need help, tell people when you need things. Twitter and Instagram is how I always get all of my work. It's how my whole career, I used to get all my work through Twitter, just being nice Twitter friends with people, and then reaching out to the internet and telling Twitter when I need work because I'm out of work for a while. And Twitter always provides. It's beautiful. So if you just be a kind person, be a good person to the world, they will return that to you in amazing ways. And that's why I like coming to events like this, because I like to make new friends. I love to get to know everyone. And even though it's kind of a long con, I'm conning everyone. Eventually what happens is we become friends, and then maybe you'll get a job at a company, or maybe you'll start a company, and then you'll be looking for a designer to make some really friendly work for your company and your brand, and you'll think of me. And so I'm not approaching every relationship in a transactional way. I'm approaching every relationship like a friendship, because that's what we should be doing. And if you think about all the people that you know in this world who are operating sort of in a competitive world where they think, oh, I'm not going to talk to that person, they're my competition. Those people never succeed very far. They can't get that far. It's always going to catch up with them eventually. So it truly is very helpful to operate out of love and not fear. Something I have learned is that it's incredibly important to find messages, key messages that are unique to you, that you have to offer the world, and then just yell them as much as possible. Because we truly are all shouting meaningless opinions into the void because we feel like we have to. We feel like, oh, those people are very educated about that topic. I have to feel like I know what I'm talking about, so I will also start yelling about that topic. What works really well for me is finding topics that I have to offer the world that maybe no one else does, and then I shout them as loud as I can. Because that is your unique positioning, that's your unique voice, and that's something truly unique that you can offer the world to change the world, and whether it's a small or a big way. Because whenever I first started speaking, before that, someone said, Meg, would you ever speak? And I said, God, no, I have nothing to talk about. I have nothing to offer the world that's unique. Everything, I'm just a designer and, all that. And my best friend was standing next to me, and she said, oh my God, Meg, you have so many things to tell people. And then she told me what my unique messages were, and then I thought, oh my God, I have unique thoughts. I had no idea. So find what those things are for yourself, or ask somebody who loves you and figure out what they are, and then utilize those as much as you can. Being a good person, that seems easy, but let's think about the qualities of a good person. This is the work that I do with brands and companies for brand strategy workshops. Okay, so let's identify the qualities of a good person. A good person creates safe spaces for those around them in the environment that they create for those people. A safe space to me is a place where everyone can be comfortable to be themselves. A good person is someone who supports and cheerleads the people around them. That's very important. But a good person also challenges people when they need to be challenged. These are all things that you should be doing in your life wholeheartedly, whether it's for personal gain or not. Being a good person is the ultimate strategy move for yourself and your happiness level, but also in getting rewards in life and moving forward. But most importantly, I think that we're always projecting what we think other people should do in their own lives, and we always think that we know how people should be living their lives. But what's important is to remember that you should never allow anyone to tell you how to do it your own way. So whenever people are on stage and they're shouting opinions at you like I'm doing right now, an important thing to note is that you're not me. Your life has been so different than mine, and what works for me probably won't work for you. So what I like to do, and the attitude I like to have, is to sit there and listen and take it in, and then go and apply it in your life in a way specifically that works for you. Whenever I was starting Full-Time You and starting some of these other businesses, the thing that I like to do is go out and find really successful, spammy-looking people, marketing people, and look at them. It's so gross. I'm just vomiting the whole time. But I look and I say, what are they doing that's working? And how can I apply that, but in a Meg way, in a way that feels right for me? Which is usually looks nothing like what they do, but it works really nicely, and that's how I take feedback too. So if somebody, and a lot of people love to tell me how to start my business and how to make it profitable, and usually the things that people were telling me to do never felt right. I would go down those paths sometimes because so many people told me to charge, like $159, at least. So many people said that for Full-Time You. You gotta charge at least $129 for these reasons, or you gotta charge at least $300 or nobody will take it seriously. And that never felt right. And I tried to launch it at a higher price point, and it didn't feel right because it didn't feel right for my specific community, where maybe it felt right for their community. And so I ended up putting it back at a price that felt right for me. And I don't know, maybe if I sold it at $300 a copy, maybe that would have worked. Maybe I would have made a lot more money and sold a lot more copies. I don't know, but that was not right for me. So I went down the path that was. So that is so important to know, is people will always, always shout opinions at you, but always do things in a way that's right for you. Boom, thank you. That's it. That was fast.